Garage. If you're just joining us right now, you are right on time. You're on time for our business feature. Can you believe this is the last Business Garage of 2020? Oh yes, it's the very last. So if you didn't know how critical it is, invite, call your friends, get them on, send the link everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us. A special shout out because today is the very first day Business Garage is live on Spirit TV. So yes, we send lots of love and greetings to the people who are joining us for the first time on Spirit TV. You are a special group of people because it's the very first time we are live on Spirit TV with Business Garage. Thank you so much for joining us. The people on all our social media channels, good to see you. I want to ask you to interact with us, lots of questions, and just letting us know what's standing out as we go along. Today, I am so honored and privileged to bring you an interview with a businessman that you probably know another way. I don't know. I think today we are going to have some preaching. Who knows? But I'd like you to help me make welcome the leader of Worship Harvest Ministries, the team leader on the pastoral team, and the leader, the managing director, president of Momentum Leadership Group, Pastor Moses. Woohoo!
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor B3.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're on the hot seat today.
Yes.
People, this is not
Evidently.
MC Live.
Yeah.
It's not MC Live.
Yeah, this is not MC Live on Sunday morning.
So please relax. All is well. All is well. Okay, so, Pastor Mose.
Yes.
I want us to go way back to your school. Did you go to school? Did you go to school?
I went to school.
Yeah, so we want evidence. Let's start from...
You want certificates?
Who knows? But I want us to go way back because we're going to be talking about your journey as a coach, a business leader, in that sense, and where that journey began. And I think it can't begin until you go to school. You can, but this particular one which you're doing is difficult without going to school. So let's start way back. Where does this journey begin? Who did you want to become when you grew up?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I started school in the village.
No.
Yeah. Mutai Church of Uganda Primary School.
Oh, Lord.
I never went to nursery.
Because you are so clever.
No? There were no nurseries where you went straight to P1. So I went to P1 straight in the village. And so, when you go to school in the village, those things of what you want to become when you grow up, they don't exist.
So why were you going to school?
You just go because your parents have said you're going.
to school.
Yeah. So I went to school in the village, and we are 6 children in our family, and I'm the last. So I was the last one to go to boarding school.
Wow.
So I went to Kamli Boys Boarding Primary School.
Oh.
And then it was my first experience of boarding school. My mother took me. There's a story there in Straightforward Financial Growth about that school. It was a good school, now that I think about it, because we had breakfast.
That's why it was good,
We had break. There was break, snack, tea.
What was break snack containing?
It was good. Then we had lunch. We had evening tea. We had dinner.
I know why you're talking like this, because we're about to go to your next school.
But because it was my first boarding school experience, I didn't like it. So I complained vehemently to my mother, who had my comp cry and took me to Mwiri Primary School. I got to Mwiri Primary School, and life was exceedingly, abundantly different. Beyond what you can ask or think. Breakfast was half a cup of porridge. Now, the other side, we had real breakfast with even something to eat. So half a cup of porridge, thin porridge. You know, the porridge is thin when you can almost see through it.
Oh, gosh.
And there was no break. Yeah, nothing for break. And then lunch was a thin slice of posho and...
But why?
and beans. And dinner was exactly the same as lunch. Now you had to have bathed to have lunch.
Oh gosh.
Now bathing is being used here in
Loosely.
loosely, because what it was really is that when you lined up for lunch, your legs should not be dusty. So there was one tap at a house in the middle of the school called Annex. Everyone went to the tap at Annex and washed their legs. You know how you line up to just wash your legs like this,
So that you can have
and
lunch.
go to the dining. Now when there was no water,
Because there was sometimes no water.
yes, you use your saliva to make sure your legs are not dusty, and then you show up in the line. Yeah. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
We had a song for everything. Good. Yeah. So like on some rare weekends, they brought potatoes.
That was like the delicacy.
Yeah. So many people, I don't know how they would know that that's the pickup for the potatoes. So from the gate, I used to sing a pickup
I'm seeing a pickup
and
with
with
kids.
many kids
Kids.
running along, singing Emboli, 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 Woma, Emboli.
Yeah, but by the time you sing for potatoes.
Yeah. On the last day of term, we didn't sleep.
Why?
It was called Goya. I don't know where the word came from, but it was Goya.
Goya.
Eno Goya, olimba limba, webale, eno Goya.
Goya,
We would spend the whole
olimba,
night
webale.
banging our metallic boxes.
You couldn't believe you're
Through
going
the
home,
night, yeah.
Bambi.
Yeah.
So this is where you learned to become sort of a military leader.
No,
These were the making.
life skills in real time. You have to be social. These things of me, I'm alone. We lived in gangs.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So everyone, you had to belong to a gang to survive through the term. Now some of us,
This is primary
because of our
school.
social background, we were never visited
Bambi.
on visiting them. So you just walk around the compound and you spot what looks like a good family, and then you just can't sit down. Yeah. The parents can't chase you. And then you start
It's
eating.
true, they can't chase you.
Yeah. Visitation was on Sunday.
Oh gosh.
On Monday, every time there was visitation on Monday,
Everyone was sick.
half the school was in
Of
the sick bay. Yeah.
Because of overeating, food
Exactly.
Poisoning. What?
Exactly. My God. Anyway, that's a little bit of Muri Primary School.
Wow.
Yeah. Shaped us.
So what you wanted to be was just able to eat good food
Well,
in primary school, or to finish it and leave.
yeah.
Just go to
Somehow,
school,
yeah.
something. But I'm sure as you went through, to secondary school, you go to, you're starting to form ideas of what would be a good profession
Yeah.
or something to aspire to. So what are some of those things that start to come to your mind?
So when you're in middle primary, every kid wanted to go to Busoga.
Oh.
Yeah. Busoga College,
College
to go up the hill. Unfortunately, I didn't go. I got good grades, but I don't know why I didn't go to Busoga. So I went to Kira College Boutique, where I did my O-level. And during my O-level, I had an uncle, Uncle Jack Gwina, who was an architect, and he had an office in Ginger, Apex Planners. So I went and visited his office one holiday, and somehow I liked the whole thing of seeing plans come alive and what.
Wow.
So that's where I started aspiring to be an architect.
Wow. So yours was from very early on, you wanted to be an architect.
Yeah, around senior 3, by visiting
That's
that
early, yeah.
my uncle's office. You know, when you're from the village and you have an uncle in town who has
Yes.
their own office, and then you
That's
visit
a
their
dream.
office, you're like, this is it.
That
This
is
is what
it.
I want to be
Yeah.
when I grow up.
Wow.
So I started having those desires, but not really knowing how I would get there. And some, I think in senior 5, figured if you got PEM art, you could become an architect. So I applied to go to Soga College Mwiri, and which brought much annoyance to my mother,
Why?
because she had developed a good relationship with the administration in Butiki, where she would pay my school fees in beans, potatoes, and other such, because we didn't have money. So she would take foodstuffs. So now she's like, you're going to a new place, they don't know us, how am I going to pay for your fees? And so but they gave me a place in Busoga. So finally I went to Busoga.
Finally.
I went to Busoga College. And I remember senior 5, just before I could go, stuck. Like, there are all these requirements. When you're a new student, you have to pay. You can't start with installments.
No. Gosh, no.
When you're a new student. And so being completely stuck, and Dr. Moses and Ruth Isoba, even at that time, they lived in a small rented house in Namungona, those ends.
Wow.
Yeah, and they gave me money
For your senior 5.
for my senior 5. I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Wow, we celebrate you. We know you're watching. We celebrate you guys. And already I'm hearing in your story influences of other people and the power of even experiences, which is one of the things I'm sure you're going to talk about, as a coach, and you being in that space, just seeing your uncle in his office space, and you suddenly had a dream for more, but also having other people around you. So now you finally finish Busoga College, Mwiri. You get dramatically. If you have not read these stories in the books that he has written, go buy the books. Straightforward Financial Growth, Called to Greatness. One of my absolute favorite books that you've written, which has these stories in there. So you finish Busoga College, miraculously excel, and you're among the top 4 students in the country. And you go and get your dream. You're going to do architecture at the university. So you do it, you finish it. You're set for life.
Yeah.
Now let's begin that journey. So what do you do after you finish your university, you get into the business world? What did you do, and how does that journey begin?
So I was a bit confused because around that time, stirrings for ministry had begun. That I finished, just for transparency's sake, I finished university in 2001, May. So by that time, Come Alive Ministries had begun in December 2000. And so I was confused. What, did I want to be an architect? Did I want to go into ministry? So I worked with, my first boss was Robert Chigundu, Chigundu and Partners. And so that was the journey. I wasn't putting in my all because I wasn't so sure. So, but in the architecture world, you have to work under a registered architect for 2 years. Then you sit your professional exams, and then you become a certified architect. So I worked with them for 2 years. I sat my professional exams. I became a certified architect. That was always my dream, because when you're a certified architect, you can run your own office, your own practice, so you can manage your own time.
Yes.
Because of these ministry stirrings, I wanted to be in a situation where I could manage my own time. So that's what I did, and then I started a small office on Nkrumah Road. And things started there.
Yeah. What was the name of that first practice?
Lone Walk
I
Architects.
remember it.
Yeah.
Lone Walk Architects. So you start this practice, and you're making some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some money.
Some money.
Small.
But then in 2006, things change. We launch worship. You launch Worship Harvest Ministries.
We started Worship Harvest. At that time, I'd moved to Tafnell Drive.
Yes.
My small office of 9 feet by 9 feet was the international global headquarters of the ministry.
Yeah.
We had a store the size of a toilet.
Yeah, honestly.
That's where we kept the equipment. And so we started mixing things.
Yes.
Ministry and business.
Now let's talk about the journey from what moves you from the architectural practice to now being a coach, a business coach. Where is the gap between that 2006 and where we are right now? Just sort of take us on the journey. What are some of the things that happened that led you here?
Yeah, so I loved and still love architecture.
Absolutely.
When you go to art school, they brainwash you into loving buildings. Yeah, like it's incredible how yeah.
Wow.
So I've even been to, the architects listening may know, I've been to Taliesin West, Frank Lloyd Wright's Western School in Arizona near Phoenix, just to see these greats and where they trained their students. And I mean, if you don't know, go look for Falling Water.
I've seen
Falling Water House. That's Frank Lloyd Wright at his zenith. And so he had an apprenticeship where he had a school where students who wanted to study under him came. So yeah, it's in a place called Taliesin, and because he was old, in the winter he would move to Arizona to what they call Taliesin West. The place still exists, the school, the way it was designed, everything. It's now a tourist attraction. And they still run some sort of practice there to keep the place going, but it's awesome. So just to say how mad I am about architecture, because not many people have been to it. That's like the mecca of architecture. So the thing is, as the church was growing, my time became more and more constrained.
Yes.
And architecture is time intensive, not only in the design, in the supervision, and all of that. So I found myself very constrained. I couldn't catch up with, even when I tried to set up, I always had these dreams of one day would set up an architecture firm with like 100 architects that has systems and all of, because that's how I like to think. But I couldn't quite pull it off. I think in the future I might still pull it off.
Yeah, we think
to have an architecture firm which runs on systems and that does out of this world things, where you don't have to, all the people, the directors don't have to be the ones in it. So I started getting pushed into a different world without knowing. But what happened is, until 2016,
yes,
I was still practicing, and I was still, you know, with one, you pay practicing fees every year, and then you pay fees every year to be a member of the Uganda Society of Architects. So you have to keep paying those fees every year, and so it's like 2 million. So up to 2016, I was paying.
Yes.
And then a gentleman called Julius Lukwago, who had started introducing us to some leadership stuff, said, "You know what, Mose, you need to join the John Maxwell team." Said, "I've read a couple of John Maxwell books, ERC." He said, "This is a good deal. It's John's 70th birthday. They've cut the prices. I'm going to pay for you using my credit card, and you will refund." That's how determined he was to get me in. So I said, okay, nothing to lose. So Julius signs me up for the John Maxwell team. And I log on and start watching the videos and seeing what happens in this growth environment. And I was like, oh my God, what have we been doing? So I joined the John Maxwell team around August 2016. Yeah.
Yes.
September 2016. Just to show you how much impact it had on me, my certification was in February 2017. But by January 2017, even before my certification, we had started Harvest Institute.
Yes!
As a result of joining the John Maxwell team. That's how much impact it had on me. I started seeing that the only entity, so I started seeing that Africa is a rich and blessed continent, which is poor and lagging behind. And I started thinking, what is lacking? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that what is lacking in Africa is leadership.
Yes.
It's leadership. That's what's lacking. That's why people are living in backward situations in a blessed, rich continent. Then I started thinking, where is the leadership going to come from? So I started thinking, is it going to come from the political world?
Nope.
It hasn't since independence.
Yeah.
Is it going to come from the business world? Maybe. Maybe not. Is it going to come from academia? It doesn't seem like there is a shortage of academic institutions and research and knowledge. So I started thinking, the leadership that's going to deliver Africa is going to come from the church.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. But then there was one thing. It couldn't come from the church the way the church was or is.
Yes.
The leadership that's going to deliver the promise of Africa is going to come from the church, but not the way it is right now, because again, there is no shortage of churches.
Exactly.
But there is no other institution, if you think about it, whether academia, government, business, or other, whose founding charism, if I use that word, founding charism, like the codes, the basis for foundation, is built on the kind of leadership Africa needs than the church.
That's true. Absolutely.
Because if the church goes back its founding charism, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, you have to be a servant of all. Then we can deliver the leadership that can deliver this continent.
Yes.
Because if universities go back to their founding charism, they are not going to deliver the kind of leadership we need. If politics goes back to its founding charism, it's not going to deliver the leadership. If business, because the foundation of business is profit.
It's profit.
Yeah, it's not transformation.
No.
So even if we succeeded in business, we still wouldn't deliver the leadership needed. The only place where the leadership requirement by its own nature and foundation can deliver the promise of Africa is the church, because the one who founded it gave instructions on how leadership should be there. And if we just got a little bit of that and started spreading it around all over the place, that salt in the meat, then we can deliver the promise of Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
I warned you there would be preaching. The stirrings are there. So now you just said that you talked about the church, which then brings the dream of Harvest Institute, which has, we've had more than how many people graduate? I was in the first class of 2017.
Every year we graduate a little bit more.
It's true.
This year is the biggest, close to 100 people.
Wow.
Typically half of the people fall off.
Usually, yeah.
Because Harvest Institute
It's boot camp.
is boot camp. That leadership is what we are looking for. This self-seeking, rebellious, what doesn't work in Harvest Institute.
No.
You must humble yourself, read, study, write a book, and all of that, and go to different experiences. So half of the people can't make it, because typically the greatest thing needed in leadership is character. And typically people have more reputation than character. And so when you come to Harvest Institute, even your reputation doesn't count. Your character must stick through. It's the people who succeed in Harvest Institute are not the cleverest. It's not designed for clever people. No, it's the people who have a spine, who say, I mean what I say what I mean, and I'm determined to get through. So half of the people fall off, but this year we almost have 100, and this is the 17, 18, 19, this is the fourth year. So I think we've graduated will be about more than 300 people.
Yes. Wow.
And that means, by extension, 300 books written by
Africa.
Ugandans. Yeah, by Ugandans.
Yes. We are changed. Something is shifting.
Yeah.
Something is seriously shifting, because 10 years from today, we'll probably have more authors from Africa through Harvest Institute than anywhere else in the entire world. Yes. And we are changing the culture. It's so great, because now we have lots of books from Ugandans in our homes. And imagine what our children now think and believe to be possible.
And every year the books get better.
It's
and
true.
Some of the people who have written in Harvest Institute, they've written more books after like Ariho Kamara, Jeremy Biemanzi, and others. So it's good.
Absolutely.
And Beatrice
Biemanzi, some cool girl. Hallelujah. So now you've just stirred us up and said that the church basically is the hope for leadership, because at the core there's transformation.
Yes.
Why then do you get into business coaching? Because Momentum Leadership Group, is the one we are putting sort of on the spotlight today, which is something that you've started. And that we are doing. So why Momentum Leadership Group, and why business coaching?
So when I started, with the John Maxwell team, we started using different tools, using the John Maxwell team materials, books like the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Develop the Leader Within You, and all of that. So we came across a very interesting model called the mastermind model, where people go through an experience of maybe 8 to 10 weeks with a small group of people, and then as they go through that, you start seeing change.
Absolutely.
So particularly, I liked the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth because it addresses personal growth, which for me is the core of what I like to do with leaders. Like everything out there will happen if you grow.
Absolutely.
If you grow, whatever you lead will grow.
Yes.
If you don't grow, whatever you lead won't grow, even when you pray and fast. So I specialize in the 15 I-Log, and I started seeing people's lives change using that book. And I was like, this is amazing. Now, of course, when I put out the thing, it's not church people only who came.
Yes.
So then I also started coaching people one-on-one. Some non-profit leaders, some church leaders. It's like free conversations. And then some business leaders. And as we went on, I discovered that the business leaders, because in their world, you have to win to survive. They seemed much more receptive in the coaching sessions than the leaders in the non-business world. Let me just generalize it that way. And so it gave me a lot of hope and wisdom, because I could see these people starting to make progress, implementing things you're talking about, and all of that. And so it wasn't like I chose. Naturally, as more and I tended more and more towards business leaders, because I could see that they were more, they could suck it in more and implement it. So that's what happened. And then, as a result of that John Maxwell experience, when we wrote Straightforward Financial Growth, I remember I preached the first sermon in the series, and then it hit me that these people are not going to get anything from this series. And I don't know how it hit, but it did hit me. And then I said, I decided that we would try out the mastermind model, but in a big environment. So I told people, if you come back on Thursday night, we'll lay out tables, you'll be on a table with a coach, and the things we are teaching on Sunday morning, you'll be able to discuss them on Thursday night, and even take some steps of growth. Remember that? And we did 8 weeks. We had like 200 people every Thursday night. And I saw, my eyes were opened to the possibilities when people go beyond hearing and start practicing. Now, that's how we started the Straightforward Financial Growth Masterminds. And everything has just accelerated from that time.
The Straightforward Financial Growth Masterminds. You can clap. The Straightforward Financial Growth Masterminds. Let's talk a little bit about those, and then I'm going to switch it. How many people have gone through their mini? Do we know how many people have gone through these classes?
I don't. Let me see. This is 2020, 2019. We started in 2018 late. 2019. So we started certifying coaches to do masterminds. In 2020 alone, we have had 379 people go through Straightforward Masterminds from many different places in the world. Now, the lockdown was such a blessing.
It was.
Because before that, we used to do masterminds live around the table. And when the lockdown came, we started doing them on Zoom. And so we've had clients from everywhere. Recently, I just finished a mastermind exclusively for people from Nairobi. And right now I'm finishing one for people from Kigali, exclusively. Like all the people from Kigali, and I'm doing the mastermind with them. Pastor Jeremy did the mastermind with people from all over the world. And every mastermind I've done, even the ones that are not for people from different places, there has always been people from different countries
Yes.
joining in, people from Dubai, people from the US. So there has been such an acceleration. So this year we've had 20 active coaches,
Woohoo!
yeah, who are offering masterminds. And our records, and these are the ones that have done. There are coaches who are still running masterminds
Yes,
now.
right
And by
now.
the time we finish the year, I'm sure we'll have gone over 400
Yes,
people
we will.
who have done masterminds. So far we've done 50 masterminds through our coaches
Wow.
in straightforward financial growth. We've been charging only 500,000 for mastermind. So if you do the math, that's about 250 million. No, that's about 3879. That's about 190 million. But most of the money is kept by the coaches.
Yes.
They only pass on a small percentage
Yes.
to us to run the system. Yeah, but that's now how we've seen things start happening, by releasing the gift to other people as
Yes.
opposed to keeping it and say, we are going to do the masterminds as Momentum Leadership Group, you pay us what? No.
No.
We've decided we give you the business.
Yes.
If you are a certified coach, it's your business. You find your clients, you coach them, we give you the materials, everything. Our
yes.
coaches, we give them the mastermind guides, we give them the PowerPoint presentations when they have to go and speak in different places, and they are flourishing and flying. We have coaches in Kampala, Nairobi, Kigali, everywhere.
I guess someone who's listening is wondering, why are they only 20 coaches? What does it take to be a coach with straightforward financial growth? There might be people already wanting to apply this afternoon.
So you have to first do the mastermind.
Yes.
You have to experience it. And then we give you other things that you must fulfill to be a coach, because we don't want you to be a hypocrite who is telling people what to do when you're not
Doing it.
So that's where the trick comes in, that you have to, one, have done the mastermind, and then you must be practicing everything you're going to teach.
Yes.
So you are under a master coach who ensures you're practicing those things. That's why they are few.
Yes.
Even though there are many people who have gone through the masterminds, not many of them have become coaches because of the requirements. But 2021, we are going to have 40 coaches.
Woohoo!
We already have selected them because
Yes.
people apply every year
Yes,
to
they
become
apply.
a coach. And we look at your financials and your disciplines and your coaches, and we ask them questions, and we say, okay, you can become. So next year we are going to double the number. So you should be able to get into an SF50 mastermind, because our dream is to help 1 million people change their financial story to the next generation. 1 million people
Yes.
change their financial story to the next generation, meaning 1 million people whose children will never have to worry about money. Yeah, so they can worry about other things like going to the moon, building rockets,
Yes.
and discovering electric cars.
That's our story. It's going to happen. I know we're running out of time, but I have a few more questions for you.
Yes.
I know that there was a shift from running. You were running most of this yourself, and you were making moolah. Moolah.
Dime.
And then you decided to switch and now start running this through Momentum Leadership Group.
Yeah.
You are getting a salary which is really small compared to the money you were making. You
Yes.
build systems. Let's talk about the switch. Why the switch? Why did you switch from running what you were running, which was really working, at least for you financially, to Momentum Leadership Group? And what are some of the things you've seen happen because of that shift? Yeah.
So first of all, this is what I was telling people to do.
It's true.
Yeah, stop running your hustle where you can't separate your money from the one of your hustle. So if I'm coaching people to do that, then I'm not doing it myself, then I'm a hypocrite. So I had to give up my hypocrisy and build a real business that has systems where there are contact numbers which are not my number.
Yes.
So that's how we started. Now, channeling all our things through Momentum Leadership Group. Our dream is helping leaders and teams win. And we do that through maybe 4 or 5 things. One, we do one-on-one coaching. We coach high-level leaders because if we can help the coach, the leader, take the thing off, then
That's
the
it.
business can go up. Two, we do masterminds, different kinds, straightforward financial growth, and other kinds of masterminds. We have had some cool, awesome coaches join us recently. So we'll be offering masterminds in different areas. Have you heard of the Made for More mastermind?
I have.
Yeah, we'll be offering those next year. Put your dream to the test. So many different things. So we do one-on-one coaching, masterminds. We do group coaching.
Yes.
We found that when people are in a group, they rub off each other the right way. So doing group coaching, and then we do management services. We help do management for some companies because I'm involved in so many entities.
Yes.
And because my name is there, my name is at risk. So I'm like, we will hire a person to run this company, Future Housing and Space, Harvest Investment Cooperative, etc., etc. We'll hire a person, and that person is operating under us, so we can supervise them as they deliver for the company. So they are under our care and supervision, but they work for that business. So that's one other thing we do very well. And so I know time is not our best ally, but I want to celebrate our operations manager.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Yes. That is Mrs. Rukia Muhwezi Nalucha. Yeah, who is also my assistant.
Yes.
But she runs Momentum Leadership Group. I don't have to, all I do is sign checks and show up where they tell me to show up. She does the rest of the work. And she's been such a blessing. Incredible. We also, so to deal with this issue of systemizing, you know, I write books. I've written a couple of titles. We have a new book coming out this week.
Yeah, I wanted us to talk about that book.
You know, about healthy church finances. So, again, I was chewing the book's money.
You were really chewing money.
And then, again, I had to set up a system. So I started Moses Mukisa Media. And Florence Babirie is our operations person there. So that everything is systemized. Everything is systemized. So that whether I'm around or not, the work gets done. Yeah.
Wow. Around how many books have we sold? Straightforward Financial Growth.
Straightforward Financial Growth, I think, is probably in the 6,000s right now.
Whoa! It's totally going to be a bestseller.
No, it is.
It is a bestseller. It is a bestseller, and it won the Book of the Year award here in Uganda twice.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. One last question. I know Banange Chris is here. I have one last question. I wanted to ask you about the effect. Have you seen, what have been some of the effects of your growth as a business leader on Worship Harvest Ministries? Because I have a clue. And so I wanted you to talk about some of that.
I actually feel like it's the other way around.
Oh.
Yeah, my growth as a church leader is because when I'm coaching people, what I'm really teaching them are the things we practice as the church.
Yes.
Yeah. When I'm telling them,
yes,
because I insist on like 4 things or 5 when I start coaching any business.
Yes.
One, you must start paying taxes. Yeah. Let's put the taxes in order. 1 now. 2, you start paying yourself a salary. This business of the business money is your money is not there. Because even in this church, the church money is not my money.
No.
Okay. So pay yourself a salary. Yeah. 3, you start tithing your gross profit. Yeah. I insist. Everyone who I coach, if you don't touch your tithe your gross profit, you're going to be stuck.
Yes.
Then I will look like I'm a fake coach because you're stuck. Then 4, you start putting aside 20% of all your gross profit as money for growing the business in future.
Yes.
Why? I've seen those things work in this church. In this church, we have enough money in our salaries account to pay salaries for a whole year.
Yes.
Without any income.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we have systems, we set aside salaries money, it's a percentage. We set aside 20% for investments.
investment.
It's a percentage. And so we have that money is there. That's how we have built this building and other places where we're working. We set aside 10% for giving. Because we're a church, we tithe by giving to other ministries. This year alone, we have already given more than 600 million shillings to other ministries. Yeah. So I've seen those systems work here. I'm already applying them in Momentum and in Moses Mukisa Media. And so I'm telling my friends who I'm coaching, let's do this, and it's going to be awesome.
Wow, you guys. My highlight from what you've said is if you grow, everything you lead will grow. If you don't grow, everything you lead will be stuck. And now I want to hand over to Mr. Chris Kowesa, the leader of Business Garage, who has like 3 minutes to wrap this thing up.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up, man.
How do I wrap this up? Really?
I don't
First of all, thank you, Pastor Bithri. Pastor Moses. Now, the problem I have with this gentleman here, he has so many titles. So I was trying to write some of them here to see how I can catch up. And that's about what is involved in what he is. Yeah? He's a pastor, he's an author, a musician, a coach, an architect, a businessman, educator, etc. He's an outlier.
Yes.
And looking at where he came from, really, you can think that it's quite a story for you to get to where you are now. Your humbleness, your meekness, you're so selfless, you know. So those are things that make you an outlier for many of us. Through your story, this is what I see. I see a resilience. You are in school, eating portion beans, and you came out.
Smearing his legs.
You came out as you are today. So you've been, and in everything you do, I see a lot of resilience. And you have passion for leadership, for transformation. Not just leadership, but leadership for transformation. You know? No one in your space, if you in Apostle Moses' space, you cannot not grow. You have to be so, I won't say the word, for you not to grow. Yeah? So you're very passionate to make other people better so that they can transform. Then you love people. Your love for people is out of this world.
Yes.
Yeah? You know why? Because I know your portfolio. Everything you're involved in is in billions. If you look at the net worth of everything you're involved in, it's in billions. These are not just 10 figures, but 11 figures. But then, and you don't have to work. You know these leadership things you're doing. You don't have to.
No.
You know, the church can look after you. But you decide, and I know one time you even refused the salary from the church. So you don't have to do these things. You don't. But then you go out and do them. So for me, I just want to celebrate you for your love for people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. You don't find leaders today, not in politics, not in business, not anywhere, who love people the way you do and you want people to change. For nothing. You know, the things he teaches in the mastermind, he teaches at church. So you can take them or not.
Yes.
So there is nothing that he doesn't expose us to. So thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, for me, the only thing I want you to tell us, with all these things the portfolio you have, I know, and this is for us business people or other leaders, you still humble yourself and go to some men and sit at their feet or people and you learn. Yes. Tell us about that as we close.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey!
Are you still a lone walker?
No. So 360-degree leadership. John Maxwell wrote a book about that. You lead across colleagues. You lead down, the people who look up to you. And then you lead up people who are in front of you. And the quickest way to grow, I call it slipstreaming. In Formula One, if your car is not that fast, and you get some of those straights where guys are doing 320, 330 kilometers per hour, what you do, you slide in behind a guy in front of you because he's fighting all the air in front of him. You know, when you don't know how resistant air is until you are driving a Formula One car. So you slide in behind that guy and you're like maybe 10 meters behind them and they are punching a hole and creating a vacuum behind them. And then you can just come in like this and even get on the side and overtake them. We call that slipstreaming. So if you're not slipstreaming anyone, your life is too slow and too difficult for no good reason. So find a person who has gone ahead and start slipstreaming. I found a guy when I always look for mentors, and I went to see one of my mentors, and I was telling them at that time, I think we had like 10 locations, Banange, what, church, 10 locations. We are trying to build missional communities. And so I always ask my mentors, what are you dreaming about in this current season? What? And he tells me, we just got a deal with Total to supply our products in about 6,000 petrol stations across Africa. You see, there are those people you go and after you see them, you leave praying in tongues.
Yeah.
That's the only proper response. They say one thing or two things, even the coffee, you don't take it. You feel so small and insignificant talking about what you've been doing. And yet some people feel they are big, they think, because they employ 2 people. So,
Wow.
slipstreaming. I've learned that secret that if you're going somewhere, get behind people who are bigger than you, who see more than you, who have done, and those people are there. And usually they don't have a lot of time. So if you're a time waster, they also not give you their time. Then learn from them. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's celebrate Mukisa Moses. Woohoo! Yes.
Wow, what a fantastic interview and a great way to end our business garage this year. Thank you so much for joining us.